The dynamic startup scene has meant a lot for business development in recent decades. The strength of startups is precisely the drive of entrepreneurs to challenge business as usual, the way things are done now, when the big vision and passion and creativity and team agility which characterize startups are combined with the values and principles of sustainability, small miracles can happen. There are plenty of such examples, and we need more. Big corporations, when they get set in their ways, tend to be constrained in terms of innovation and benefiting from having a network of partners that can help them innovate. This is where we see a lot of good practice in innovation in big companies. Entrepreneurs are very clever at identifying new opportunities. That's part of their strength. And the opportunities today are precisely in what one might label social entrepreneurship or social startups or impact startups or impact investments. There are lots of labels around, but simply there are a lot of opportunities right now for startups in this area of social and environmental challenges that the world is faced with. In this era of a lot of change in the world, that innovation is more needed than ever, that even big, powerful companies with huge market segments, if they stop to innovate, they won't survive very long. So I'd say that innovation is celebrated and successfully deployed, including collaboration with startups by the most successful companies. So it may be undervalued by some, but those who learn to value and work with startups for innovation tend to do better. Well, when we look at a lot of the most powerful and largest companies today, they may have started as innovators, but with their increasing size and bureaucracy, innovation has been hampered. And this is how they tend to look at new partnerships, including acquisitions of startups, to continue innovate successfully. So there are good models out there of how even big companies continue innovation and partnerships with smaller companies that tend to be more agile and flexible in their ways and more creative. When I look at how big companies are working with innovative startups, there is a wide spectrum. Without necessarily naming specific companies, including companies that I've had the opportunity to interact with from a startup perspective, I see that some are really good, some are not doing so well, and there are some really bad practices as well. So there's a lot to learn from this, and this is where I try to focus my article. But the good news is that there are models out there that can be learned from and can be emulated by others. So I still feel there is hope. But it is a learning process, and clearly there's a big cultural divide between a large company and a small startup. One has to work through that for a successful partnership. I've had the opportunity in 2 startups to work with companies and organizations throughout the world. And even though there certainly are always cultural differences, I would say that similarities are greater than differences in this challenge of finding a productive way of collaborating between big companies and and smaller companies, startups, of essentially bridging the gap between more bureaucratically operating larger company that tends to deny itself from opportunities of innovation, and the small entrepreneurial type startup that for creativity needs to be a bit more unconstrained, if I put it that way. My own work is very practical, but if I just mentioned one opportunity that exists for both public and private sector in terms of how they operate, maybe here's the example of procurement. When they buy goods and services, they tend to keep on shopping for existing products with the specs used year after year. So in the case of one of my two startup companies, For Life Solutions, they provide safe drinking water with purification of the water with the help of the rays of the sun. Companies or organizations providing safe water for people tend to buy chlorine. They deny themselves of this opportunity. Everimpact does direct measurements of CO2 emissions in real time. Companies, cities or others that want to have their carbon footprint, they procure consulting services to develop estimates as snapshots from time to time, maybe every 2-3 years, based on models and assumptions. They don't look for a solution to their problem, they look for a particular service that they are buying, and they deny themselves of a better product. So these are challenges that can be overcome, and there are good examples of that as well. For example, tenders can be crafted to find new, innovative and more sustainable solutions to a problem, inviting startups to participate. And partner and vendor selection can be open-minded, involving workshops and other interactions, as opposed to closed bids based on narrow and constrained technical criteria. Contracting can be more flexible, allowing for more agile, collaborative and iterative approaches together to develop and apply new solutions. As I said, there are good models there, but they are not practiced widely enough. The challenges that are facing the planet and the world are enormous, and it will take a lot to turn things around. But I'm optimistic that innovation has tremendous potential, and this is the way to go. Of course, you need action by a lot of actors beyond the creativity and innovation. I see good examples out there which still inspires optimism.